Good evening and welcome back to Review Morgue. Jeanie, what movie are we going to discuss tonight?
Oh, we are delving into the last. Is it? It is the
Oh,
last Corman, right?
no.
Well, what's the next one? Oh, that's right. Never mind. Okay,
We'll talk
so the
about it later.
second to last Corman that we're going to be discussing, The Haunted Palace,
Yes.
which is supposedly taken, the title is taken from Edgar Allan Poe's poem, which is found in The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yes.
However, it has nothing to do with the story except for the very end, but we'll get to that. And it has credited to H.P. Lovecraft's story. I don't remember the title of the
The
story.
Case of Charles Dexter Ward,
That's right. The Case of Charles Dexter Ward.
which it's one of Lovecraft's longer stories, short
Yeah.
stories. Hmm.
Yes. So that is what we were discussing. As you can see in the background of Carmen's picture, it's got Vincent Price, Deborah Paget, and other way. Or
No.
you're pointing to their faces. I was looking at their names. And Lon Chaney.
Oh, yes. If we,
Yeah, that way. Yeah, you look like you got a mustache. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
way is
actually
the
Lon
name.
Chaney Jr., not Lon
Yeah.
Chaney, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, that they left off the junior.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
maybe they didn't have enough room or didn't want to add it.
well,
Maybe he didn't want to. Was
there's,
Lon Chaney an actor?
yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
He,
what I thought would be strange is
he's,
why would they not put the junior on there? Because you
yeah,
needed to give the right actor the right accolades.
yeah. Lon Chaney did, I believe, Phantom of the Opera. I'll look it up real quick. Hold
Well,
on.
that's what I thought. That's why I wasn't really thinking too much about it being Lon Chaney Jr.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
now that you brought it
Lon,
up, I'm like, oh yeah.
yeah, Lon Chaney did quite a bit of horror, especially in the silent era
Hmm.
before his son. He is, let's see, The Unholy Three. He was, yeah,
Hmm.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Notre Dame. He was Phantom of the Opera. Those are probably the big ones, but he's got, other movies as well. But
Right.
yeah, so yeah, and then his son came, right after when he was old enough to start acting. And, we know Vincent Price, we know him well. We've discussed who he is and what he's known for, so I don't feel like we need to go in depth into his list of
No, and Deborah
movies.
Paget has appeared already in a few of the movies that we've done. So,
Well, she was in
uh,
Tales of Terror, which is one of the
hmm
ones more current that we've reviewed.
yes,
Another movie she was in was it just the name just escaped me. Ten Commandments, even though I know that's not
yes,
her, but that was one of the movies she was in. And I believe she was the love interest for Elvis in
yes,
his first film, Love Me Tender.
yes. I believe she was because it was the black and white. I think.
Yep, it was
If
black
I'm
and
not
white.
mistaken, I think that was the first and only Elvis black and white movie, maybe, that I recall
Yep.
anyway, other than no
Jailhouse,
Jailhouse
Jailhouse
Rock.
Rock, King Creole was
Yes,
black and white.
yes,
Let's
because
see.
those were
Yes.
his early ones.
Yeah, Love Me Tender. And that was, looking at the year 1956.
Yep.
So she starred with some big names. And then, of course, Lon Chaney Jr., who was the Wolf Man, is probably one of his biggest roles.
Hmm.
And he also got to reprise, or he got to not reprise, but he also got to do Frankenstein versus, I think it was Dracula or the Wolf Man. Now, I studied this earlier, and I think my brain is just trying to fight with me on all the monsters, or the monsters are fighting in my brain.
Exactly. It's Monday. They're causing problems.
That's exactly right. Just I'm going to check myself so I don't wreck myself. We'll just call it that.
That's right.
So it was Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. So he got to reprise his role in that film.
Woo woo.
But he was also in Dracula versus Frankenstein as well. And yes. So I get some of them confused. A lot of times Jeff and I will watch these on Svengoolie nights, Saturday nights, and so they get a little bit intertwined together, because we
Oh
watch so
yeah,
many of them.
they're very good with that.
Oh,
And one
yes.
of the things about this movie that was very interesting to me was the cast, that there was quite a few of them that were recognizable, maybe not known by their names, but by their faces and
Yes.
their voices, because they were plethora actors in a lot of other genres. Like
Yes.
one of the ones was like there was westerns. There was quite a few of them that are western actors
Mm-hmm.
in like Big Valley and Gunsmoke, and because those were the popular ones that started coming out. Uh, so that was kind of cool, getting to say, "Oh, I know him, I see,"
Well,
because
and
you can recognize them.
I was gonna add that one of the ones you're talking about is Elisha Cook Jr., and
Hmm.
he played the care of a smaller part of Peter Smith, and he was in House on Haunted Hill with Price. So
Hmm.
not only was he in another film with Price, he also did westerns, a lot of other just small parts and things. Yeah, he was a face you would recognize.
Yeah, and the one that played, I think his character was it, did he play Gideon Black?
I know who you're
He's the
talking
one
about.
that had the voice.
Yes.
Yes. Now I had seen him in a lot of westerns, and he played mostly bad guys.
Oh yeah, and what's kind of cool because a lot of the scenes in the town were in like the tavern or the bar, the saloon, I should say.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
he would, you know, he was even dressed Western like in this film,
Yes.
which was really
Yeah.
neat. And I
Yeah,
think,
and the period time that they had when the first scene that was set was like the 1700s.
mm-hmm,
So then 113, I keep saying 13, but it was 110. I don't know why I just kept adding the extra 3 years on there. But
right,
110 years later would been the, late 1800s or mid 1800s and stuff.
right, right.
So, and it was kind of weird that they would have that period time, and
Mm-hmm.
it would definitely show a lot of Western influence with the saloon and the way they dress and all that kind of stuff. But I did notice that they definitely were using the same set that they had already used in a couple other of Corman movies.
Yeah, well, I think he did that for,
Well, I know they did it
saving
budget
money.
wise. Yeah, they had to because, I guess what really got me is at the beginning of the movie when they definitely, like we talked about, they misspelled the Allen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we need to. preface that for our listeners and viewers.
Exactly. And what's so odd is at the very beginning when they're giving the credits at the very, like the Haunted Palace title, it says Edgar Allan Poe and spelled Allen. And I'm like, what? And they do it again later on. And I'm like, okay, this is like his fifth movie so far.
Yes.
How can you misspell it?
I know, and but then they redeem themselves when the quote from the Haunted Palace is at the end, and it
Hmm.
has Edgar Allan Poe with Allen spelled with an A.
Exactly. Right. I just noticed something on the picture
Uh-huh.
behind you at the very top where it shows somebody getting tossed off the top of that
Hmm.
thing. I don't remember that from the movie.
Oh yeah, it did happen
Which part? When? Because it
toward the
wasn't towards
end.
the end.
It was at the end.
Somebody got thrown off the top of that at the end? I don't
Uh-huh.
remember that.
Yes, you must have fallen asleep.
No, the only time I saw anything was when they were over the pit.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. I think it's now you're making me forget who it
Hmm.
is that falls in, and they fall in the pit. But let's not get
Well, I
ahead of
know, but the
ourselves.
pit was not near that. The pit was a separate set of steps they had to go up to, and they raised that wrought iron thing, and you saw that weird thing with the green goo and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
and they were holding Vincent Price's character, who he had come back to himself, Ward.
Right.
He had come back to himself and let the wife go,
Mm-hmm.
and then the two men, his acolytes, who had, were part of the very beginning, were holding him down at the pit. And and it's like, okay, because the doctor had already ran away with the wife and ran out of the building. It
Mm-hmm.
was on fire. And when he went back in to get uh, Ward and was helping him out, the other two had disappeared.
Yeah.
So
Somebody
I just,
does fall. I just now that you're asking and pointing it out, I don't remember which one it was that fell.
okay, well, I just I must have blinked and missed it because it must have been during my time when I was fussing about how nobody would still be alive, especially with the townspeople setting the stupid fire as they walked into the building, the
Right.
morons. Anyway,
All right,
so
we'll get
moving
back.
on.
So, all right. So, and we've already talked about this is one of Roger
Mhm,
Corman's films from American International
mhm,
Pictures, which is above right there. And so we have the writers taken from Poe, from Lovecraft, and then we have the person that did the screenplay was Charles Beaumont. And he is known for several Twilight Zone episodes, the Alfred Hitchcock Hour,
mhm.
and he also did the screenplay for Mask of the Red Death for Corman, as well as The Premature Burial for Corman. So he worked pretty closely with Corman.
Yeah, this definitely was the Twilight Zone remnants.
The haunted Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it was like actually when I was watching it, when I first started watching it, I was like, am I sure I'm not watching the Twilight Zone? Because it had that special effects of that one episode about the beautiful woman,
Hmm.
where everybody looked like had pig faces, but she was like didn't
Eye of
she
the
was
Beholder.
different.
Eye of the Beholder
Yeah, Eye of the
appeal.
Beholder.
Hmm.
And I was like, I had to keep stopping it and going, okay, no, I'm not watching Twilight Zone. All right, okay.
Yeah. And just so our listeners know what the reference of that is, uh, basically when Vincent Price's character, Charles Dexter Ward, becomes his wasn't it great
It was
grandfather?
great 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 grandfather. I think there was
Yes,
three
three. I
greats.
think
Yeah.
there's three. He finds out that, well, he basically gets possessed by it's Joseph Kerwin, and
Hmm.
that's his great grandfather. And he basically Kerwin takes over his body and mind. And apparently, we find out that he was trying to create a new race of people, and the remnants of ancestors from these original beings that he created are walking around this town, and they all they have no eyes and just other disfigurements. It's
Hmm.
very strange. And there's one scene that I think is I would think that in 1963 this would have really scared audiences, where they're all coming out of these just behind the corners from the shadows, walking towards, this is before Charles Dexter Ward is possessed by his great grandfather, and he and his wife Anne are walking through the town, and they see all these people coming out, and they're freaking out, like, what's going on?
Hmm. Yeah, because one of them is a young girl who doesn't have any, doesn't have any eyes. Her face is flat, and
Hmm.
somebody else that doesn't have a mouth, and
Yeah.
because that kind of, and I guess this goes back because it talked about some of the remnants when you think of like the Cyclops and the mythology
Uh-huh.
of, you know, the monsters of mythology that didn't have like eyes or mouth, or mouth or those
Right.
kinds of things. And I guess that goes with part of the story because when Ward shows up with his wife, he talks about to the doctor because the doctor's explaining to him why the townsfolk want him gone.
Hmm. Right.
Because they really did not have a very good reception of him or his wife because he looks like his great 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 grandfather.
Exactly. Yeah.
And uh, the great 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 grandfather was considered a warlock in that time
Hmm.
and was accused of impregnating the young women of the village with, they didn't really call them demons, but hell spawn or whatever,
Right. Yeah.
because he had, now this is one thing that really bothered me. And this is the doctor explaining that the book that his great 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 grandfather was reading from to call forth these people is was a necromacon. I can't even say
Necrocomic
it.
Comic Con.
Yeah, so that, I mean, and I was like, what? That just doesn't even sound like anything that would be real. Necrocomicon, a
Hmm.
necrocomina, or something like that. And I'm like, well, I got where they wanted the necro from because of necromancy,
Right.
but the rest of it was just weird. Uh, but
It's
and they accused him of,
no, it's Necronomicon. That's how you
yeah,
pronounce it.
Necronomicon.
Yeah. I
See,
had to make sure I was saying it properly.
yeah. So it's not a Comic Con; it's a Necronomicon.
Yes.
Okay, so weird. Either way, it just sounded odd.
Hmm.
Um, but of course, because he was trying to resurrect, that was one of the things. He was trying to resurrect these old gods.
Hmm.
And by doing that, he was impregnating the women of the village to try to basically have them reborn.
Right.
It
Hmm.
reminded me so much of Omen, the movie Omen,
Okay.
and some of the others that where, demons trying to uh come back like Constantine, where they're trying to get out of hell or whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I did like the historical concepts that they kept about when the villagers went after the warlock. Now, it's the only thing is that in history, the witches in Boston and Salem area were not burned at the stake; they were hanged.
Yeah.
And so that part was a little different because they actually drug him out with the whole fire, kind of like the whole pitchforks, kind of like the remnants of Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah. And like tying him up to the tree.
Yeah. And then setting him on fire, and then he cursed them. And that's one of the reasons why when Ward shows up, the town, which I thought was strange, the town's name was Arkham. And I immediately went to the Batman. I'm like, oh well, the Arkham Insane Asylum from Batman. There we go.
Hmm.
Um, and then he cursed them, and then all of them had like that's why they had these defects, and then other things. Now, the one thing that really bothered me that I couldn't understand was the one townsman, I can't think of his name that we were talking about, that he was one of the famous players that went on to act in as the bad guy. I can't remember his name. He played Gideon Black I think in the story.
Yeah.
He had somebody, and I'm assuming it was his son that was deformed, kept locked up, and he had kept feeding him like raw meat.
Yes.
And I was going, okay, all right. But then when it happens that, you know, apparently Ward's character, which I thought was strange, that it looked like it was a woman that let this creature out of the locked room
Okay.
because it was a dress, it was like everything. And I was like, okay, so it must be the mother that was
Mm.
letting him out. And then that's when the creature ends up killing him, and
Right.
they both die in the fireplace. They go,
Yes.
they die. But what I really thought was odd is that when they're doing the funeral for this guy, it's only for him. So I'm like, well, what happened to the other dude? You know, it was
Yeah.
there was a lot, I guess what it is, there was a lot of gaps in the story that really bothered me, that didn't make any sense and left too much question, and it just made the story chunky. There
Yeah.
was
I can
no,
see that. Yeah.
it just like, it was like they spent too much time trying to build suspense that
Hmm.
they lost the story for me.
Yeah.
I just, and that's what bothered me the most about it. I mean, there was nothing, like they had all these cobwebs, okay? When she got lost in like one of the side, passages in the palace and
Yeah.
everything, and
Uh-huh.
she saw these two rats, just hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, they were clean for rats, let me just say.
Oh
And then she
yeah.
had all of these cobwebs and everything, and then she gets to this end and there's nothing but concrete, and she reaches her hand out and she touches a spider, and there's
Hmm.
only one spider, and of all things
It's
it was a
it's
tarantula.
huge. Yes.
And I'm like, excuse me, tarantulas are not known for that area, okay? And they don't build those types of webs.
Well, and I truly believe that they were going for the jump scare with all
Yeah.
those things because like remember when they first entered the house, when they found out they inherited it, they
Hmm.
come in and there's a snake.
Yeah, and that made no sense either. Because I'm sorry, they opened the cupboard, the
Hmm.
bread cupboard in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and there's a snake, and it's not just like a rattlesnake or just a small snake, a venomous snake. No, it's one of these big old chunky ones. And I'm like,
Where did
how the
that come
heck did
from?
it get in the bread basket? You
Yeah.
know, it's not like it could open it and hid in there and close behind it and say, you can't find me. And then he just
Right.
grabs a butcher. a butcher knife that was laying around and chops its head off, and then they just run out of the kitchen. I'm going,
Oh, I know. I know.
really? Okay. I was like, that poor snake. What did it ever do to you? I mean, it didn't even try to strike at him. That was even bad. It looked more like a python than anything, and I'm like, okay, all
I,
right.
again, I really think they were going for the jump scare with all of those little items or animals.
No, but it just fell flat. I mean, it was just it to me, one of the things that bothered me the most is that it's like all they were doing was trying. Everything was trying so hard in the film.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, Vincent Price, I did like how he had it down to where he could switch the persona of
Yes.
like when he looked at the painting, which that was just the weirdest painting I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, because it looked like him, but then it didn't look like him.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's part of the thing. They wanted it to look close to what he looked like, but they didn't
Hmm.
want it to be strictly his thing.
Right, since it
And
was his great 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 grandfather.
yes. And Vincent Price, his acting as usual was phenomenal. He
Yes.
did a great job of splitting, of looking at the painting and then switching into that character.
Yeah.
And then switching back to Ward when he finally got control, so you could really feel that he was being possessed.
Absolutely, because there were times that it was a little questionable
Yeah,
who is he now? And
yeah,
his wife got the brunt of a lot of that when he was Kerwin because Kerwin was trying to resurrect his old mistress.
exactly. Yeah, and well, I won't say I liked it, but it kind of confused me at the very beginning when they first got there
Hmm.
that, he pointed out to Anne that this way is the kitchen. And I'm going, how the heck does he know where the kitchen is?
Right,
And
exactly.
this is before he'd even looked at the picture or gotten possessed,
Yeah,
So that kind of was like one of those gaps to where I'm like,
yeah.
okay. So he knew where the kitchen is and he just happened to grab a cleaver and that poor snake. But I felt bad for the snake. And but what really was strange was the groundskeeper or whatever you want to call him, the caretaker or whatever.
Hmm.
The the makeup was just strange. And I think what they were trying to do was make him look like he was 100 and some years old.
Oh, I think so too. And even in parts where Vincent Price was possessed by Kerwin,
Mhm.
it he uh he
Made him
looked
aged. Yeah.
he looked very they were going like you said for like an aged look, but it came off like odd shades of green.
Yeah. It kind of looked like putty.
Yeah.
Like they were covered in putty. And that was
Hmm.
like, that's just eek. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because Vincent Price was a darker shade than
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know. It just now the doctor played by who was the doctor? Who was the doctor played by?
Let's see. The doctor, no, so the doctor that was kind of on Anne's side.
Yeah, that doctor. He
Okay.
he he's also been he was also a big player in a lot
Ab-
of movies.
Absolutely. So his character name was Dr. Marinus Willett, and
Yeah.
we're going to have a little Fortunato, I think, come on screen. Maybe not.
Woohoo,
You
Fortunato.
could see an outline of him. And
Yeah.
his real name is Frank Maxwell,
Yes.
and he was
Yes.
in lots of different things back in that time frame.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
he did a lot of westerns too.
Yes. Hmm.
Um, So the doctor, he was the only one that I felt in the whole movie that actually had a part that made the story, you know,
Yeah.
that he was the only one that was telling a part of the story. He was
Yeah.
still, we still never really got a big thing, but oh, I showed to Kitty. Uh, and so it was choppy, and it's like they were trying too hard with trying to make it scary,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't scary.
Yeah. But was it scary in 1963?
I don't even think it would have been scary in 1963. You know what I
I
got
think
from the
there's
1963? I got that if you was on LSD, it would have been scary. Because
I
that's
think
what I got.
children and young people might have been scared, and those people who don't really care for thrillers and horror, I think people like that who watched it might have been scared. Just
Mm,
because, with the jump scares, while these were mild in our, realm of the world or time, I think that back then some of them would have been a little bit like, oh wow, didn't expect that.
I don't know. I guess it would be better for me if they would have been more believable.
Yeah,
I mean, even with the jump scares, they weren't believable.
yeah.
I mean, you pop open a bread box and a snake just falls down. It doesn't
Hmm.
even jump at you. It doesn't do it. It just falls.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, oh. Now, if the snake had fell out of the ceiling and fell on their heads, that would have been a jump scare.
Oh, that would have been, oh,
Yeah. And if the spider had crawled out and was crawling over her while she was lying in bed, that would have been a jump scare.
that would have been bad. Yes.
But for her just to reach out and barely touch it, it's like, eh, okay.
Yeah. But I will say on the positive side, costumes, lighting, setting, all of it was amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I guess that bothered me the most is they put more effort into the decorating
Mm-hmm.
and the set than they did in the actual storyline,
Yeah.
and it just bothered me because it's like, yeah, you got all these, the set is great, the lighting is great. Now, the makeup and stuff, like the special effects of the facial, the uh what do you call it? Oh, the not graphics. When they put the masks and stuff on them, when they build the artistry, like I love Face Off. Face Off is one of my favorite things. Why can't I think of what it's called?
I'm not sure where you're going because, like,
The special effects for the masks and the faces where they covered up the eyes, those types of
yeah, yeah.
what are they? They're not just special effects. They're called some particular name. It's
Well,
like when makeup artists do makeup
yeah,
and
I'm not real sure, Jeannie, what you're
I'm
going with the name.
trying to think of the name of what they call them. They're kind of like when it's like when you do implants or that
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the same lines. But anyway, the
Okay.
special effects part of that when they were making the masks and stuff, they were a little, they were good for their time.
Yes, yes.
But it's like it was too much. They were
Mm-hmm.
trying too hard with that part of it. And
Yeah.
Yes, so they put more into the costumes, the sets,
Mm-hmm.
the everything else, and it's just like the story fell apart for me. I
Okay.
mean, it just kind of it wasn't a clear, concise story. It was one of those choppy stories where you started out where you had a bad guy who was impregnating, they killed bad guy, he cursed them. 100 years later, great 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 grandson shows up, looks just like him, gets possessed. He tries to do the same thing, and then boom, fire, destroy, and we're done.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay. And what really griped me was the very end. There was no ending.
Yeah. It was kind of left hanging. The townspeople coming to for him, and then the fire and everything else, that totally had me go back to Frankenstein.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was so many remnants of the old tropes
Mm-hmm. And I think he
and
was kind of
everything.
paying homage to a lot of that.
Yeah, and that was great. But the part of it that bothered me was, like I was telling you, when the townspeople showed up carrying the fiery torches, and
Mm-hmm.
they go into the palace because they're hunting for, uh, well, not Ward, but whoever his great great grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Kerwin.
And yeah, that dude. And then they decide that, oh, we'll burn him out. And they set the things on fire while they're all standing in there, and they run into the palace setting things on fire. And I'm going, uh, you're setting the house on fire and you're in the middle of it, dude. Not really what you want to do. Okay.
Oh.
So I I don't know. I mean, it is a good hmm. It was a movie that was very reminiscent and classic for the time.
Mm-hmm.
I will give it that
Yeah.
much.
And I was going to say, and we can talk more a little bit, when we do our raven croaks and black cat hisses.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I think I've said everything I want to say about
Okay.
the.
Well, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. All right. So with Raven Raven hisses, Raven
Ra-
croaks.
Raven. Okay, Raven croaks.
I'm gonna give it a 3 because I do the actors in it were great. Their delivery was great, and I loved again the setting, the lighting, the costumes, all of that just from that time frame was just amazing. And that's probably the reason why I'm giving it a 3 and not higher. And so for Black Cat Hisses, I'm gonna probably give it a 4. And that goes to Charles Beaumont is one of the greatest, writers. He's done amazing things with, like Mask of the Red Death, Premature Burial,
Mhm.
Twilight Zone episodes, and Alfred Hitchcock, as I mentioned before. This script, it wasn't necessarily a bad script, but I think just because I'm not as familiar with Lovecraft as I am Poe, I really need to read this story. I actually started it and didn't get a chance to finish it, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but just because time and things kind of got in the way. But when you see the title, The Haunted Palace, you go, especially if you're a Poe fan, you go, oh, that's cool because that's from the Fall of the House of Usher. So
Mhm.
it was the story within a story, and you're hoping that part of that is going to come out. But then it's like when you read the synopsis for the movie, it's like, oh, it's really a Lovecraft story. And so
Yeah.
with really no elements of the haunted palace, except that there is a palace, and it it has one quote at the end, and I'll read it, and I will do better job than what I did earlier when Jeannie and I were talking about this. But it's while like a ghastly rapid river through the pale door, a hideous throng rush out forever and laugh but smile no more. And so that was the only elements of Poe in the whole film. And so I think it was just a letdown. And I've seen this movie before. We decided to do review Morgue. And I think I enjoyed it a little bit more the first time I saw it. But then when I saw it again, it kind of made me long for more Poe, I guess, and is the best way to say
Hmm.
it. And so I think, some of the things were a little convoluted. I agree with you that there were some plot holes that could have been tweaked because, like, the thing in the pit, it's like, what was that? There was really no answer to that. I mean, yes and no. And so I just, and then the ending was just left kind of hanging. But then Poe does that with some of his stories. And so maybe that was Corman paying homage to Poe. So yeah, so three raven croaks and four black cat hisses.
Yeah, and oh, and the name that I was trying to think of is prosthetics.
Oh,
Special
okay.
effects
Yes, 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 yes.
prosthetics. That's the
It was not,
applications.
it was not coming in my brain.
Yeah, me either. And that's why I couldn't, I was like, there's a word,
Yes.
when they build those things that there's what they're called, prosthetics. Okay.
Hmm.
Sorry, I had to get that out there because it was bugging me. All right. So, yes, I have to pay a little, tribute to, the writing of the script because he's always been a phenomenal script writer
Hmm.
with you know, other things that
Right.
we have reviewed and like and stuff.
Hmm.
But with this one, I have to say it's like he couldn't figure out if he was writing for Twilight Zone, if he was writing for Alfred Hitchcock, or if he was just, in a mosh pit and couldn't just decide. So he just threw them all in there and just,
Yeah.
blended it up.
Right.
So, and
Hmm.
the Twilight Zone, and because that's kind of what I felt like. I felt like I was
Yeah.
watching bits and pieces from each one of these, but they didn't connect together.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this really could have been a really cool anthology film
mhm.
with a few different stories taken from Poe and Lovecraft.
Yeah, I mean, and it was too disjointed.
Hmm.
So because of that, I have to say that on Raven Croaks, I'm only going to give it a 2.
Okay.
And that's only because like I was talking about with the sets, as we were talking with the sets, with the costumes, with even the actors and everything, but that's it. As
Yeah.
far as the story went, it was just so bad because there was no connection, there was no completion, there was no, and I mean, yes, Edgar Allan Poe is great about not starting at the beginning and not having an ending,
Hmm.
but this wasn't even that.
Yeah.
This was like there was no story, period. It was just an idea here and an idea there, and oh, we might think about putting a plot in here of somebody who's trying to raise gods from many years ago, but it's like we don't know who they are. We're not going to
Right.
tell you about it or explain it, but this is what's happening. So two ravens croaks. I mean, it was. Yeah, I'm even pushing it on that. So,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to go with the full, well, I won't say full, but I'll say 5 black cat hisses.
Okay.
Because this is not a movie. that I remember, this is my personal opinion for all you viewers and listeners. This is not something that I will ever would want to go back and watch again. Ever. I
Yeah.
mean, I did like the actors. I've been, fans of the actors and stuff they played in, but this this just did not. And like I was telling Carmen earlier, I have never been a Lovecraft fan.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there's just something about his writing and his stories that have never called to me
And that's okay.
before.
Are you punning that up?
Exactly. I
And
did.
those who
Punt
know
it.
Lovecraft knows what she means.
I did.
Ah,
Yes. So, but yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, everybody likes who they like, and I think
yeah,
I would have enjoyed it more if they had put more Poe into this.
exactly. Yeah. Sprinkle it in
And
a little bit.
yeah, I mean, they could have added a little bit more from the poem, The
Hmm.
Haunted Palace, and I mean, they could have made a story just out of the Haunted Palace,
Oh,
even though the Haunted
absolutely.
Palace is in the Fall of the House of Usher, but
Well,
they could
and
have made an actual story out of the Haunted Palace.
the haunted palace kind of is a parallel in a roundabout way to the fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah,
And that's why Poe did it that way and to build that suspense of, when Madeline shows up. But yeah, it,
right.
it could seriously stand alone as its own story and film.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess with just the problems with the storyline itself just put me off to everything else. I
Hmm.
just couldn't get behind it
Yeah.
because I was like, there was so much left unsaid that didn't connect, didn't, and I know the symbolism they were trying to put in there with the fire,
Hmm.
because everything was already on fire and they used fire in a lot of different ways, but it's like even the subtleties weren't enough for
Yeah.
me. So, yeah, two raven croaks and five black cat hisses.
All right. Well, I think we've put the fin in the end of this film then.
Yes, and we finally laid the palace to rest.
Yes. Yes, it will haunt no more.
Exactly. We
So,
burned it to the ground.
so what is our next film, Jeannie?
Oh, honey, you were going to ask me that. Hold on.
Of course I'm going to ask. I always ask.
Well, I thought I had it up there and had remembered it, but I got so excited when I remembered prosthetics.
Yes.
I got sidetracked when I remembered
Oh,
prosthetics. I
yeah,
was like,
when you brought that up, I was like, I'm at a loss. She'll think of it eventually.
yeah, and that's what happened. Oh, yes. The next. Oh, I was wrong. It wasn't the second to the last. It was the third to the last because the next one is the second to the last. It's the 1964 The Mask of the Red Death.
Oh, yeah, and that's one of my favorites.
Yes, because the last one is the Tomb of La Gia,
Yeah, yes, I knew.
which
I
is
thought that.
ironically in the same year.
Yes, and I really like that film too. It's very good.
Yeah, so yes, Mask of the Red Death comes next.
And then Tomb of Lagia,
Is
the
our last
Lagia.
Corman film.
Yes, and then we'll move on to the others.
Yes. Yes, we'll move on to the non-Corman homage.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to go from the Corman to the next ones and see how well they
Hold
stack
up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So But yes, we go from the haunted palace to the mask. So we get to see all the different colors. Yay! See
Yes.
how Vincent Price plays Prince Prospero.
Yes. Don't give anything else away though. Till
Just that's just basic Mask of the Red Death. Everybody should know that one. I
yes,
mean, come on. I shouldn't be
but
giving away anything with that
the
one.
color in the movie is phenomenal.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, now
Absolutely.
you're giving away things.
That's
Mm-hmm.
all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's wait, everyone wait until April and you'll find out.
Yes. Yes. It's going to be
One other
how
thing.
ironic. April Fools.
Oh my
Okay, sorry.
goodness. Well, and I was going to say one other thing that to share. Speaking of April and April 1st, not
Mm-hmm.
fools though. Even though there is some fools in the Mask of the Red Death. Sorry, I had to get that plug in.
Mm-hmm.
We are fourth annual Poet Like Poe poetry contest begins April 1st, and submissions are open that day until May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So get your pens and your paper or type as
Yes.
you have to submit it and Poet Like Poe and enter to win the contest. All of the information is at our website at www.sixdegreesofpoe.com. And just click on the tab for the fourth annual Poet Like Poe poetry contest.
Exactly. We have two categories, youth and adult. So
Hmm.
pick your poison.
Yes, depending on your age. And we have prizes, we have judges that basically have about a month and a half to judge after all submissions are final.
Mhm.
And it's just a fun contest, and we will be talking more about poetry in our degree episode for the month of April coming up
Mhm.
quite soon, actually.
Yeah, it's look a week from Wednesday
Hmm.
is April
Absolutely.
1st. So,
And also on the website, there's another tab with the 2025 poetry winners. So if you want to check out their poems, just go to the other tab on the website for it.
mhm. Yeah. So we look forward to if anyone wants to join us with your submissions, bring out the poet into you,
Hmm.
and one submission per person. So
Yes.
pick out the one that you Poe love the most.
And the main thing that we ask that you not do is use AI. So,
Exactly. Yes, AI submissions will be automatic disqualifications.
yes,
So
absolutely.
just gonna put that out there.
Yes. So, Poet Like Poe. And on April 4th, we will have it's a special edition episode of some of our Poe friends that we
Hmm.
know very well. Will be reading Poe poetry and or their own poetry. So check that out. That will be aired on April 4th, which is a Saturday.
Yep. So it's gearing up to be another wonderful poetry month.
Yes, it's perfect.
Perfect for us. It is just perfect.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
yes.
I guess Jeanie.
We are
Go
po out.
out.